Star Wars Episode 1 The Phantom Menace. What can I say that hasn't been said before? Well, to be perfectly honest, probably not a lot, but I'm going to go through the movie as best as I can and say what I want to say about the movie. Because while many others hate this movie, it's actually not that bad. Now, I'm not saying this with rose tinted nostalgia goggles. For a long time, I did think this movie was amazing, and for a long time after, I also thought this movie was complete shit. Now I'm on the boat where I'm in the middle between those two opinions and think it's an okay movie. And I think that's the issue that a lot of people have with the Phantom Menace is that it's an okay movie. Um, Coming from hot off the press of Star Wars episodes 4, 5, and 6, which are hailed to this day as the best Star Wars movies and some of the best pieces of science fiction, you can understand why people are upset that this movie wasn't so good. Now, while the movie is okay and I actually can have some enjoyment value from this movie, not everybody can say the same thing. And I kind of want to see where my views align and what I may have issues with or not have issues with, because I will point out what I know the community has vocally said is a problem, and me looking back on it now with my personal opinion and saying why it is or is not a problem. Now, we open up with the standard Star Wars title crawl that we all know, love, and adore. The music starts, and we're immediately set back into a galaxy far, far away. And with that, I'm instantly transported. Now, this is definitely the fanboy in me of being a huge Star Wars fan, but that alone gets me ready for anything Star Wars related. I Seeing Star Wars or hearing Star Wars music, I can instantly transport myself to the world and like know what I'm in store for. So after that's done, we open up onto a shot of what appears to be a Republic ship and Trade Federation blockade on the planet of Naboo. Now we see our Trade Federation, our Republic ship land in the hangar of the Trade Federation. I have no idea what the hell to call it. As a Star Wars nerd, I don't understand that because and that's my issue with the prequels is that I don't know the names of all the ships and everything quite like I do the original trilogy or the sequel trilogy. Because I can name a lot of vehicles in those eras of time. Now I can name a lot of vehicles, mostly Clone Wars era, because Phantom Menace is before the Clone Wars. But I can name clone vehicles, and that's an issue is that I can't really name it. Maybe it's because I never really paid much attention, but in the movies I never heard them say it. I didn't really hear. I don't think in the original trilogy they really said anything either about anything except maybe the Millennium Falcon and the Death Star. But it feels like talk like that is even more scarce about ships in the prequels. Now that's not really a complaint. It's just something I noticed and just thought about this moment that we don't know everything about the prequel area quite like we do the original trilogy. And I think that made some people uncomfortable is that there was some form of change. It's not we don't see TIE fighters, we don't see X-Wings, we don't see Slave Ones or Millennium Falcons or Star Destroyers. We may see a couple ships that are reminiscent, mostly through the Republic during the Clone Wars, But in Phantom Menace, there's nothing really iconic that we can latch onto that we already know. And I think for that, some people didn't like it because they felt that was different. While I don't have an issue with it, it does give me something that it makes me want to be more invested. I want to learn more. And with that, actually, and probably after I'm done this video, I'm gonna go Google some Star Wars Explained and watch his stuff on the prequels. But I think the only ship I know is the Naboo Starfighter, and that's the yellow one that Anakin ends up flying, and I know that very well because I had that toy for the longest time when I was a kid. That Naboo Starfighter was fun. But as we going through the movie again, as we meet Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. Now, Ewan McGregor is Obi-Wan. Everybody hails as amazing. And I'm going to hold that same opinion before somebody ends up smacking me for going against the opinion because it's cool to be against it. No, I love Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. I don't think you could separate the two as characters. It is honestly phenomenal. I love Ewan McGregor. I will say that over and over, and I probably said it way too many times as it is, but that was great. Qui-Gon was also another great character brought to you by Liam Neeson. And what what I think I like the most about the Phantom Menace is, and I think it stems from Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan probably the most, is that their stories are fleshed out and it sets up so much for the Clone Wars animated series, which everybody adores, and myself too adore. I I love it. I can't get enough of the Clone Wars animated series, and it's great. And I believe that Phantom Menace sets up more valuable things for the Clone Wars TV series than that of Attack of the Clones. But that's another story for another day for me to say. But um, back to the Phantom Menace, as we meet Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon, the story starts to get kicked off. It goes really fast. We get nice action piece. We get to learn more about the Jedi, um, and the movie's off to a breakneck pace. We go through Naboo. We meet Jar Jar. While some people, well, he is kind of annoying. Like Jar Jar's not great. He's tolerable in this movie. I kind of just ignore him. That's probably the best way to look at it. If you really, really have an issue with Jar Jar, just ignore him. Like, plug your ears, go la 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 when you see him on screen. But, um, and I think the reason why I don't mind Jar Jar is because nobody in the movie likes Jar Jar either. Qui-Gon is done with this shit. Obi-Wan's done with this shit. Like, probably my favorite line from probably the movie is Qui-Gon when he meets Jar Jar, and he's like, Jar Jar's like something about being intelligent. And he's like, the ability to speak does not make you intelligent. And I'm just like, I should say that to a lot of people I know at school. But that's exactly it. That line is perfect, and it sums up my attitude towards Jar Jar and the way that characters are towards him. And he's pretty good, like because he is a decent plot device. He kind of does tie some things together, and he makes sense. And I think that's the thing that matters to me is that his character makes sense. The only thing that doesn't make sense is quite his behavior and why we focus on him at the battle in Naboo when the Gungans are facing off against the droid army. I could have done with a little less of the goofy drunken master crap and the whole source of the Darth Jar Jar theory, which I think is bogus. But I actually don't mind Jar Jar. So after we've done meeting Jar Jar, we get the Queen. We head to Tatooine. the Tatooine stuff with Anakin actually isn't bad. I don't understand why Jake Lloyd, the actor who plays Anakin Skywalker, got so much flack. He he did a good job for what he's supposed to be. He is supposed to be whiny. He is supposed to be kind of annoying and I guess kind of a bit of a brat. But he is this selfless kid and I buy it. Like he does a good job and I believe that he is Anakin Skywalker. I believe his intentions are noble. I believe that he is this poor slave kid that he's suffering. And like that's all an actor can do is do what he can with what he's given and being a kid actor too, I got to give him some slack. And he did a good job. Like his facial expressions, while seemingly goofy at times, I found mostly during the pod racing, did line up. And I mean, it's pretty hard to act against a green screen. And for a lot of the stuff that Jake was doing, he was kind of acting against a green screen. He had to picture stuff in his head. And while some people may argue that because he's a kid, he does this all the time, this should be easy for him. It's not exactly easy when someone's telling you how to imagine things and how to react, especially at that age. While we all can imagine um, when we were kids, we had lightsabers and imagine what planet we're on, have it be we're on Camino or we're on Geonosis or Kashyyyk or um, Jakku or Tatooine or Hoth. We can imagine these things because we've seen them ourselves. These actors have not seen them yet. And also, we're doing this with our own free will. Well, the kid obviously has some free will in the decisions he makes, and he did sign up for the movie. There's there's a little bit of that there too. He doesn't exactly have a whole lot of choice, and I don't mind Anakin. I love Anakin. I don't understand why he's gotten hate in the past, and he's actually he's actually a good part of this movie. I don't mind Anakin. The whole Tatooine and Naboo stuff is fantastic. I'm not going to argue with that. So after we're done on Tatooine, we obviously have met Darth Maul, and we go to Coruscant. And watching the Coruscant stuff with a new eye, I will say it's actually not bad seeing how like paying more attention in the movie than I have in the past because normally I've just turned my brain off watching The Phantom Menace, especially like when I was watching in 2015 when I was on the mindset of fuck this movie. Um, Watching it this time when I was kind of more chillaxed, no, I was not high, but watching it chillaxed, I kind of saw the Senate stuff and kind of how Palpatine was pulling the strings the whole time, being this little puppet master. And I think paying more emphasis on that made it more enjoyable for me. I didn't mind Coruscant nearly as much as I did. Now it's slow and it does kind of bring down the movie a bit, and some people may find it jarring and possibly annoying. I don't mind it. It it was a good change of pace overall for the movie. Um, it's whatever. We also see the Jedi Temple for the first time. Um, we meet Yoda again and Mace Windu, and we are set up with Anakin's uphill battle against the Jedi, and you can see why he's kind of skeptical of the Jedi. And here's a food for thought. Um, this obviously because Jedi were emotionless and didn't care, blah blah blah, and that's why they took them at such young ages. These children, they were almost always infants because they weren't allowed to have attachments. Now that's not to mean they weren't allowed to go have sexy fun time. That was never forbidden in the Jedi Code, but they weren't allowed to be attached to something, and that's something that sucks. It's part of being a human. And what the Jedi could have done instead of having Anakin, trying to condition Anakin and whip him into this condition where he is 100% loyal and has no emotion, you can still have him be loyal. Just have him go check up on his mom at least once a year. Would have made everything a lot less painful. Hell, I would have, like, after the events of the Phantom Menace, as ObiWan, I would have done everything in my power to get Republic credits or something to go free Shmi Skywalker and bring her to Coruscant. Because with that, Anakin knows that his mom would be safe. Anakin's mind would then be at rest in the here and now. He wouldn't worry about anything, and knowing that his mom is safe, he won't act out of anger, aggression, or be nearly as snarky. And plus, he has his mom to set him straight as another authority figure, because that is someone he has grown up with. Now, obviously, for story reasons, this was not allowed to take place. This is just something that I believe the Jedi could have done to prevent Anakin's fall to the dark side, and his mistrust in the Jedi. But that's just from the outside looking in, obviously. But after we move off of Coruscant, we were about to leave Coruscant, really. We learn about the dreaded Midichlorians and get an explanation for them. A lot of people have taken huge issue with this scene. I think the acting is fantastic between it, in my personal opinion. I like the exchange between Liam Neeson and Jake Lloyd does his best to understand what the hell Qui-Gon is saying. But it's not bad, and it does explain some things, and I can understand why the Jedi would base everything off of midichlorians. They get it down to a science, and having it down to this science makes sense because they want to find the most prime specimen. Because I believe in legends, Obi-Wan was not very high in midichlorians, but he was force sensitive, and over time he grew stronger and stronger in the Force. And because he grew stronger in the Force, he was able to hang with those guys with the high midichlorians and other shit. But it just took him more effort and time to get there than, say, Mace Windu might have. But they had it down to a science, trying to crack the code, if you will, on the Force to try and make more sense of it. And then that it makes sense in Empire after the Jedi Order's been erased and Yoda's been demoralized and heartbroken that he decides we need to throw this science shit out of the fucking way. And let's just go back to what we know of the Force. It's philosophical. And what is scientific is that he knows that this is a thing that does connect all living things and it can be manipulated and it can't be based solely on midichlorians and other crap. And with that, I think that it's okay to have midichlorians. It's something that kind of, it makes some sense when you think about it. And actually just, it's not nearly as bad as people give it rep for. But who knows? Who cares? In the end, this is just a movie. But after we're done talking about midichlorians, we go back to Naboo. We have whole fights, and then we meet Darth Maul again. He's ready to take on Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon. Anakin's going to sit in a starfighter. Padme's on her way to fight Nute Gunray, and I think that's where we're at. So I'll talk about Nute Gunray real quick, because he's a new character. I don't mind Nute Gunray. I've heard some people take issue to Nute Gunray, and his character makes sense. He's kind of slimy and just he'll do whatever it is to make sure that he's on the winning side, and he just has some shit luck, and he's kind of a shitty person, and being this shitty person, he comes up with the most conniving schemes, and I don't know, there's something about him being on screen that I, for some reason, enjoy, and especially in the Phantom Menace, because the animatronics are fantastic. They are really well done for Nute Gunray. Like, I will say, I will pride Star Wars for this. All their animatronics and alien costumes are always fantastic. I will never fault them for it. They always look good. They always leave a good impression on the viewer, and it's something that I enjoy. Even in shit characters, I can enjoy the beauty of it. But that's just me. But Newt's not bad. I don't mind him, and his plan and everything kind of it makes sense to me. I enjoy it. I don't mind him. But we move back to the Darth Maul Obi-Wan Qui-Gon fight. Some people hail this as the best lightsaber fight. Some people hail the Obi-Wan Anakin fight as the best. Now, when I get around to my favorite movie, I will tell you which fight is the best. But as far as I'm concerned, this is a good lightsaber fight. I love the raw emotion from Obi-Wan, especially after Qui-Gon dies. Just the pure ferocity in his fighting style, and it's enjoyable to watch and seeing how cocky Darth Maul does because he's gloating, I killed your master. Now I'm just waiting for you to die and give up. And that's what he wanted Obi-Wan to do, was just give up. And it kind of does set up, some people call this a paradox. It's not a paradox. It makes sense. So Obi-Wan beats Darth Maul from the low ground. Oh no. And people take issue to this. With Obi-Wan beating Darth Maul, it makes sense. Darth Maul was cocky. He wasn't expecting this move to be done. It was something that Obi-Wan he put his faith in the Force and he did it. And I also don't take issue to this besides that logical point being there, that Darth Maul gets set up for the Clone Wars. He's cut in half, he's demoralized, he has his revenge plot ready to go. I love this. I'm ready to see Darth Maul kick some ass, and he does deliver in Clone Wars. He does deliver in Star Wars Rebels. And I think that's what I love most about Maul. It's not that he is in the Phantom Menace, but because he is in Clone Wars and because he is in Star Wars Rebels. And that's where I get my enjoyment in this movie, is knowing that they do set up these things. And because they do set up these things, going back and watching the movie is more tolerable. And because, let's be honest, when you watch a Star Wars movie, you don't just pop it in for the sake of popping it in. Well, sometimes there are. It's usually the original trilogy. But it's that time of year where we're going to go back and watch all the Star Wars movies. Watch them probably in chronological order. We might even throw in Clone Wars and Rebels in there if we're feeling extra spicy. But we're going to be doing our Star Wars marathons for the before The Last Jedi. Not because we're all short of our knowledge of Star Wars, but because it's enjoyable. We love watching Star Wars. And we want to know as much as we can and pick up any knowledge we may have missed the first 400 times we've seen the movie. And that's okay. That's what Star Wars is for. It's there for us to enjoy. And I can't say that the movie didn't deliver. So if I'm to rate The Phantom Menace, I would probably put it at about 75%. That's probably my rank, is a 75% for The Phantom Menace. Now, there are some technical issues with the film, more or less the visual effects of the CGI not holding up super well. For example, Jar Jar looks like shit. Boss Nass actually holds up surprisingly. Some of the backgrounds look very distracting PS2 graphics. Um, but who knows, Disney may release a special edition where they use their great CGI that holds up and digitally alter everything to look fine. I hope so. Please, dear Lord, do that. I actually wouldn't mind a special edition where they do digital fixes like that. But if they were to do that, I also hope they leave us the original prequels for us to look back on. Because that's something Lucas didn't do with the original trilogy, is leave us the original trilogy to look back on. And that's because there are going to be people that will probably prefer the original cut of the prequels, or people that prefer that would prefer the digital enhancement of the prequels. But as a whole, I don't mind the Phantom Menace. Like I said, it gets a 75. Things that people give it heck for, I don't really see an issue. The only issue I see with the Phantom Menace in my eyes, besides at times being a bit bogged down, and is really just the technical aspect kind of taking me out of the movie. Just being a little visually jarring at times, but it's not that bad. If you haven't seen the Phantom Menace in a while, do your best to kind of erase what you've seen. You have, as Yoda put it, you must unlearn what you have learned. That's been Oz or Sound Streak 24. Have a good day.